I'm Mike Miller. Los Angeles is one of the biggest cities of the country of the United States of America. Yet in many ways it's a very complicated city. Over 60,000 people or more are homeless and have no place to live. Many people sleep in shelters every night. Many sleep on the streets. They have no place to go. Nothing is more certain than the fact that homelessness is a very critical issue today. We begin with one of the most critical and one of the most largest homeless populations in the city of Los Angeles, downtown Skid Row. In this area, many people are homeless, and many are camped out along the streets, and many are struggling to survive with a variety of different problems, different issues every day.
If you sit west of Los Angeles Street, which is pretty much the borderline between the haves and the have-not that separates Skid Row from where all the yuppies and the lofts are at. The city come out there and they put benches for them. Not only do they put benches out there, they got what they call parklets, right? Where they took like a couple of parking spaces and they build these little parklets things. And inside the parklets, they have like a bench where folks can come and sit down. They have a bar stool. They had his and her swings. They even had like little hockey games and stuff like that. That the city of Los Angeles came out there and put for the yuppies to sit down. So it's Jim Crow on Skid Row, right? Because on one side of the street, you know, it's open game. You can do what you want to do. The other side of the street, you can act like you finna do what you want to do, and you're going to jail for 5 days for violating 4118D for sitting on the ground.
You know, you go through a lot of problems down here, right? Yeah. Okay, LAPD, they with me. Okay? I mean, you can't sit here, you gotta sit up. You can't do this, you can't do that. You need help. Not from the LAPD, because they don't want to arrest you, but you ain't gonna help the homeless people, but you wanna take them to jail. For what reason? Sitting down, drinking a beer? Come on now.
First of all, thank everybody for coming out. Wow, this is amazing to be shown on the side of the jailhouse. Man, a lot of things have changed in the past 25 or 30 years. One of the main things that I'm glad of is that people are waking up. So it's very important that we keep our eyes open, our ears, our minds, and pay attention to what's going on, because there's some people who don't care if we make it or not. The only thing they care about is getting our dollars up out our pockets. And sometimes they get more money for incarcerating us than for us to stay out. You know, you would ask the question of why would they pay $45,000 a year to keep a man in prison, but they won't give him a job making $28,000, something where he can pay his rent and feed his family. When you start to think about those things, then you have to question our politicians. Are they really out to help us? Are they really out to help themselves? And that's really what I have to say to you tonight, is that we have to start looking out for ourselves. We have to start thinking for ourselves. We can't let other people make decisions that's going to affect our lives, especially people that never come out on the street. You know, people who never walk these streets, who never talk to any of us, and they sitting somewhere up in some big fancy house and they making decisions for our kids and our babies, and I don't think that they can make those decisions. I don't think that they have the knowledge to figure out what's supposed to be happening with us, and that's what we're gonna come in at. That's what we have to band together like tonight and cast our votes and educate people on what's really going on in society.
With the issue of homelessness, there are a lot of different groups and organizations in the city of Los Angeles who deal with the homeless, who advocate to end the fight against homelessness. One of those organizations is one called the Los Angeles Community Action Network, known as the LA CAN, which was founded in the late 90s by community activist and leader Pete White. The LA CAN has helped advocate in a variety of different ways.
Our entire fight in downtown Los Angeles is a fight to remain in our community. We're very clear that anytime the state or someone else removes you from the land, you're never going back. Let's look at Native Americans. Let's look at African Americans who came over and changed. And the list goes on and on and on. If they move you from the land, in this sense, if they move us from our community, we would never be allowed back. And so our housing fight is really a fight to remain on the land. A fight to remain here to build the community that we all dream of, that we would like to see.
So when we talk about housing, I know what homelessness is. I know what being hungry means. I understand not having a job that pays living wage opportunities or jobs that don't offer you health care. So living in a community, understanding the community, because the community is me, and LA CAN is a venue that we can all come together as a collective to push, fight for, and promote issues for us.
Also, not only do we teach folks their rights, but we teach folks a culture of resistance. Because it's one thing to know your rights, but it's another thing to stand up and advocate and fight for your rights. You know, it used to be, and I give an example, it used to be when the cops would come by, and they would see a guy standing outside his hotel. He's not doing nothing. He just maybe smoking a cigarette or getting some fresh air. The cops would shout out the window, "Hey, you lottery, move it down the street," right? And the guy, make a funny face and turn around. He just go up in his house and move it down the streets, right? But he didn't know that as a citizen, he had a right to public sidewalk. As long as he ain't blocking the sidewalk, he can stand out there all day long, right? And so once we came and started educating folks to this and started telling folks, hey, look, when the cop come by next time, tell him, no, you ain't going nowhere. This your community. You ain't got to go nowhere. Any community that's up for gentrification, right, we got to understand if you don't own the rights to the land, bye, baby. You know what I'm saying? And if you poor, you don't own nothing, you're going to be gone. That's the first way of displacement is they price us out of the community. They buy us out.
Friday morning, February 12, 2016, we were given notice a few days before that we had to leave off of Town Avenue for street cleaning. At 5 in the morning, I was up, because we were supposed to have been off by 8 a.m. Friday morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, I was up, moved my stuff right here in this area from town, okay? Before the police came, done moving. Officers decide they're going to clean up the homeless population because that's what he told me. He came around here. People are moving their stuff rapidly trying to get off. Somebody pushed a wire basket up next to me and all my belongings. The officer came and took me to jail, had me arrested, said I had a stolen basket. Okay, took all my personal belongings. I'm out here right now. This is all I have left. Okay, he took all my belongings and said, I'm cleaning up the homeless population. And you kept me in jail for 3 days for a shopping cart, bill $250. Something I should have never went to jail for, no way. It should have been a ticket. Okay, that's the way to get us off the street so you can take our stuff. And they decide what they want to let you keep and what you can't keep. And he was way over there doing that side of the street. And then he decided to come over here and take me to jail. Because this started at 5 in the morning. I didn't go to jail till 10 o'clock.
And he had
been done with
And so, and you were trying to comply with the street cleaning?
No, we complied with he talked to us over there, and he was over there shit about our own business.
He decided
No, I want her. He said, he told me when he took me at 9-something in the morning, I'm taking you to jail because you have too much stuff. And this is my way of cleaning up the homeless population.
Hi, it's me, Shelly. And today's date is February the 3rd, 2016. And I'm on 6th between Cirrus and Gladys on the Skid Row. I'm not supposed to say on Skid Row. I'm in Skid Row because Skid Row is a neighborhood. You're not on Skid Row. That's a mentality. Right now, I'm waiting outside LA Can to speak to the attorneys that are here for us in the legal clinic regarding the homeless issues that are going on down here. The last 4 months, I've been down here homeless. I was handcuffed today. I was threatened with incarceration. I was threatened to have all of my personal effects confiscated, documented, sorted, and held in custody while they take me to jail for being homeless. They told me that if I conceded to go to a emergency shelter down on 83rd and Broadway or 87th and Broadway, that they would not take me to jail. Wow, really? The ultimatum was go somewhere where I know nothing about the neighborhood. I have no resources, no connections. I don't have any money right now. But you want to take me somewhere to stay for 9 hours, get back on a van, is going to bring me right back to Skid Row. Are you kidding me right now? I moved all of my things. Some of the guys down here helped me. And I have court tomorrow to be arraigned on the same kind of charge about my tent, but all the documentation that the legal clinic needs was in there that they were about to confiscate and take away. Wow.
Another shorter term goal, and it's only shorter term in the context of the lofty vision, is housing for everyone. It's ensuring that everyone, that the right to housing, the human right to housing, is recognized. No more homelessness on the streets. Those are short-term goals within the context of the loftier goal or the loftier vision.
I would like for our community to be a force to be reckoned with in the downtown community. I mean, we got two populations. We have the extremely low-income community, and we have the new gentry community. And the only thing that separates us physically is a street.
In addition to downtown LA, other areas of Los Angeles also had their problems with homelessness. We now bring you to Hollywood.
Well, my parents passed away when I was 2 years old in a car accident. They were killed on a 101 freeway. I've been homeless for about 2 months now. I lost my job at a warehouse, and I got evicted from my apartment from Park in La Brea. Trying to wake up and have a mentality of you're gonna make it, and basically you need to ask as many people as you can for help, and you need to also do something for yourself, which is do applications and look for a job.
Well, my experience behind homelessness was volunteer because I was one phone call away, which I eventually made in order just to get out of the situation. But I hung for 3 months in Santa Cruz, California. I actually had to create my own food, my own shelter. My shelter was an old 350 Ford truck that was used for the farm. And I found a camper shell on the side of the road and put it on my truck, and there was my home. The homeless people were very tight, and they taught me skills and stuff on how to handle the streets. Like, for example, if people would come and beat up the homeless, and what you do is you just act crazy, and then they get so scared that they just leave you alone. But a lot of them get beat up and stolen from other homeless people, or basically from people who are just looking out for a good time. And you get rousted. You don't know if you're going to get rousted. You have to be really quiet within your vehicle and make sure no one sees you go in and out. And God forbid if you have to pee or anything. There's a way of doing that too, to be able to make it sort of you're doing a stealth kind of lifestyle. And then you're in the world doing like I found myself at Safeway one day. I was so hungry and I saw all these people just buying their food, no big deal, and they didn't even know I was standing there starving. I mean, literally. I couldn't shoplift. I couldn't bring myself to shoplift. I was getting very angry that that there was so much abundance and I couldn't even touch it. So that made me realize what's going on, and that was 15 years ago. I'd have $5 and give 3 of it away because 2 would work for me for that day. I knew how to generate money because I was just by myself. I was physically fit, and mentally I wasn't exactly right because I was going through a bunch of emotional changes and realizing what does work and what doesn't work in life. But when you go homeless, it's just about basics. Food, shelter, gas for your car, maintenance, protection, knowing where to go, who not to bump into, which I didn't do that very well, and who to bump into. And you get wired in with the different merchants that they let you know when they're putting it in the dumpster so you can get it at the back door instead. So people really work together in sort of a stealth kind of way, but it is very hairy and scary. And experiencing that has made me realize, really, it's just moving on and being a service to others. If we all came from that space, it's wonderful, and that's what the homeless do.
Yeah, I've been homeless since July of last year. And now I'm in St. Louis. I'm working Monday through Friday, and the girls go to school and daycare. And so now we're just looking for housing. I work at a really good job, you know, and it's really hard. I make okay money and can't find housing.
Yeah, my mother got cancer. She got sick when I was about 12, and I took care of her. And we were supposed to get a habitat for humanity house, but it didn't really work out for me before she died. Just ran away, and then dealing with mental or physical abuse went on. Not societal abuse, just had to live in homeless to survive. As a woman, the thing that I notice is not okay is sometimes you get raped. Sometimes you have children as you're homeless, and healthcare is a big issue because you get sick a lot. Bug bites, cockroach bites, pests, animals that are out in the nature that you have to avoid, and staying clean. Also, it takes a toll on your fatigue because sleeping on the ground is not very comfortable. So you don't really ever get a real night's rest to get up and get to work. So people expect you to go work, but you're already so exhausted and you're just so in much pain. And pain becomes an issue. So you end up self-medicating and getting on drugs to get through the pain of the tolerance of being homeless. Oh, actually you lose your ID and your cell phone. So you don't have a way to call for emergencies. You don't have a way to contact a family. And then for identification, you don't have ways to sign up for. I had gotten a public housing voucher, but I had no ID because it got stolen while I was homeless. So laying out here in public, people can easily stash up your stuff. So I lost out on Section 8 because my ID had gotten stolen out here. Hot foods, hot meals is really cool for us because they're expensive. So what I would pay for a monthly amount of groceries and somewhere to actually live and store my groceries is not comparable to hot foods. So people, when they give extra cash to us, it's not that we're going to spend on bad things. It truly is for food sometimes because when you're homeless, you can't afford to cook and prepare meals like you would if you were in your own house. So it's people even coming out of their house just giving a person a plate of food that's home cooked is real important because we can't really get all the nutrients we need from fast food restaurants and stuff. I guess home is where the heart is. So when a person doesn't have a home, I think they lose sight of their heart. And that's the whole big thing is if people had hearts, they wouldn't look at the homeless people as somebody that's not a human being. It's a person that deserves a chance to get somewhere to live. So
I was homeless up until about 15 months ago. Well, I made some stupid decisions that I can't go back and undo. That and a combination of mental health issues that I'm still learning to deal with. Right now I have a regular doctor for my physical needs. Then I have a psychotherapist who was giving me counseling, 1 session a month, and then I also have a psychiatrist. Unfortunately, I've been having a really bad time with psychiatric medications. All the medications I've tried so far have had really bad side effects. Right now I'm taking one called Remeron. And I told my doctor just a few days ago, it feels like starting to wear off. But we're still working on it, trying different meds and stuff. Prior to that, I developed pneumonia. For the first time in my life, I had to stay overnight in a hospital. I went because of pneumonia, I went to LA County General Hospital. I spent 3 nights there, coughing my head out and the doctors trying to get a handle on what the situation was. So when the lab results came back that it was pneumonia, they just kind of kicked me out after 3 nights, and I was still pretty sick, but at least I was able to leave that facility with some antibiotics. So, but still, it took me about a week after leaving the hospital before I started to feel, much better. That was my main motivation for wanting to move in, because I knew something had to change, and I didn't want to get sick again. That was the sickest, time I ever had in my life. It's not a good feeling laying in a hospital bed with IVs in both arms. So that was my chief motivation. I told my best friend, John, I said, I'm tired of this life. I know I can somehow do a lot better. Thankfully, this building that was under construction in Skid Row for a while, once I found out it was an SRO, I decided to, go file my application. Thanks to SRO Housing Corporation and the Los Angeles Housing Authority, I was able to move indoors. Right now I'm on general relief, so I only pay $56 a month. And it was a brand new building, right on the corner of 5th Street and 6th. And for the first time in my life, I was able to move into a brand new complex. It was a really good feeling knowing that to be sleeping someplace where no one else has slept before. Pretty much my everyday routine at the time was just walking around town aimlessly, not doing a darn thing, or sleeping on the City Hall Park or some place like that. Food, since I was living in the Skid Row area, food was never an issue because there was always plenty of food to go around. Sheltering, that's another question. Media, the papers and television news, they sometimes paint a pretty picture, but the fact is that there are not enough beds to go around. I'm sure there are some politicians that really care, but others kind of sweep homelessness under the rug. Truly, there isn't enough room to go around. And priority, for a very good reason, goes to women with children. So it's important for them to get off the street. Unfortunately, there's still women and children literally having to sleep on the sidewalk. Supposedly here in the United States, being the wealthiest nation in the world, you still got people sleeping on the sidewalks, and that's not right. Supposedly here in the United States, being the wealthiest nation in the world, you still got people sleeping on the sidewalks, and that's not right. But besides some government concerns, there are also private businesses, housing developments who want to get rid of the homeless so they can build their expensive lofts. Homelessness is really terrible, even here in the United States, because food, shelter, clothing. Look at me, even though I now have a residence, I still can't afford to buy clothes for myself, so I always have to wear secondhand stuff. I get GR, but that's not really enough to live on, because that's only $220 a month. Anyway, what I say about homelessness in general is just terrible. Richest nation in the world, you shouldn't have people having to sleep on the sidewalk. There are some people who choose to be homeless, but most homeless individuals do not choose that as a lifestyle. I myself, I'm thankful to be having been moved indoors about 15 months ago. And, if any fellow homeless people watch this film, you really should get off the streets. There are opportunities. If you don't do anything, you're not going to gain anything. Most homeless in the Los Angeles area, you just don't have anywhere else to go. You can't be just swept under the rug.
Well, I came here to try and pursue an acting career and got robbed on the way here. Got to LA with $10 in my pocket. I have a car, but a lot of times it's hard to park it anywhere. So, it's just staying warm. It's the worst thing I've ever gone through, ever in my life. So, The hardest part is finding a shower. That's the big thing for me, is trying to stay clean. I'm trying to go home. That's why I'm here.
Where's home?
Tacoma, Washington. My mom just called me a couple hours ago and said that she's got an aggressive form of liver cancer. So I'm trying to go home. See my mom.
Like Los Angeles, like downtown Skid Row and other areas of Los Angeles, there are other people who also advocate for the homeless every day.
The bottom line is democracy is for everyone.
The bottom line is democracy is for everyone.
And the banks need to realize that.
And the banks need to realize that.
Stop the foreclosures and work with the people in saving their property.
Stop the foreclosures and work with the people in saving their property.
Spend your energy in creating jobs.
Spend your energy in creating jobs.
This is our country.
This is our country.
This is our state.
This is our state.
This is our city.
This is our city.
And nobody should be left behind.
And nobody should be left behind.
Middle class.
Middle class.
The poor.
The poor.
The homeless.
The homeless.
Women.
The women.
The LGBT community.
The LGBT community.
People of color.
People of color.
Immigrants.
Immigrants.
This is all our America.
This is all our America.
And you are part of the tradition of greatness here.
And you are part of the tradition of greatness here.
So for several years I was with the LA Coalition to End Hunger and Homelessness. During that time we started a group of homeless individuals who were working on change in Hollywood. They were called the Hollywood Community Action Network. And they were able to at least attract, to kind of push elected officials into offering more low-income housing in the Hollywood area. So over the years, Hollywood Community Action Network has organized demonstrations, large community meetings. They've invited nonprofit housing providers to a presentation in which they showed them all the vacant lots that were available in Hollywood and properties that could be converted into housing. They've been to City Hall. They have clamored for better treatment of the homeless, participated in all kinds of activities to try to make life better for homeless folks. So a lot of it involved actually advocacy around the General Relief Program, and eventually also advocacy with the Department of Housing and Urban Development to try to get more housing into LA in general, and to push the mayor and the County Board of Supervisors to accept a 10-year plan to end homelessness. Elements of that were accepted and are currently being implemented, but it's still been a long, tough struggle. So currently I'm operating an organization with a few staff called Hunger Action LA. And our largest project is making fresh, locally grown fruits and vegetables more affordable for low-income families, people who are getting supplemental security income, people with disabilities, low-income families, and people who get CalFresh, which used to be called food stamps. So this program is called Market Match, and it doubles your dollars up to $10 at 17 farmers markets where we're working at in LA County. And we're also working on broader hunger advocacy issues, including advocating in the state budget for more benefits for people who are seniors or have disabilities. Hunger Action LA's sort of showcase activity for the year is called Hunger Action Day, and that takes place every May around the time the state budget is being discussed in Sacramento. So we bring 2 to 3 busloads of low-income people up to Sacramento. For many of them, it's the first time they've ever spoken with one of their elected officials. But they're there to tell people what life is really like. Up in Sacramento, our elected officials tend to get insulated from the life of poverty, life on the street, life trying to make ends meet. And so the main focus of Hunger Action Day is to show real people, their legislators, and to remind legislators that they actually have an obligation to folks in their community. I'd like to see homelessness eradicated in Los Angeles, but one group that doesn't seem to have been pulled into the mix yet are landlords. Because homelessness begins with a landlord. It begins with a landlord evicting someone out onto the street. So it's been all the way since World War II since we had any kind of federal or state rent controls, and most of those have been abolished. But I would like to see the elements of rent control reintroduced at the federal and state level. Right now, landlords are being left out of the conversation. Well, our true goal can only be one, and that's to actually eliminate hunger in Los Angeles County, and hopefully then we can abolish hunger action LA. It won't be needed anymore. But it seems like there's always a need for people to actually watchdog our elected officials. So homelessness in Los Angeles or anywhere in the United States is utterly unnecessary, and all it takes is strong political will to create the funds needed, if that's what's needed, to eliminate homelessness.
I first started working with the homeless back in 1992 at the Hollywood Presbyterian Church, and at that time the church had a comprehensive ministry called the Lord's Lighthouse Ministry, where we provided primarily food and emergency services to homeless. In that period, in the 90s, there was a lot less coordination between faith-based groups and other organizations. And so, in a certain sense, it was everybody trying to do their best to help people and work on the problem of homelessness. And later I became the director of the Lord's Lighthouse. And when we got to some of our most productive years, we were working with about 18,000 people a year in that ministry. And we had people from all over Los Angeles, from all over the United States, and even from some other parts of the world who would come, because Hollywood was the great magnet, and it drew just lots and lots of people. We established a Hollywood Healthcare Partnership Program, I believe back in 2003 or 2004, and that was in conjunction with the Department of Mental Health Clinic there in Hollywood. And our idea was that there were many people who were experiencing homelessness who had fallen out of the care system, the healthcare system, the mental health care system, even the dental care system. And so what we did was we brought together some partner agencies. This included the Queens Care Health and Faith Partnership, which was part of Hollywood Presbyterian Hospital, included the Department of Mental Health. It included another nonprofit group called Get Love, which worked extensively with sort of a one-on-one companion model with homeless. They would actually, take people from appointment to appointment and house them. It was a very intensive companionship model that they had. And so we provided food through Midnight Mission. This particular program met one day a week, and we usually dealt with about 100 to 120 people every Wednesday. The nurse, the registered nurse from the Queen's Care, probably saw about 25 people and provided care, along with some of the nurse practitioners, to 25 people per Wednesday. The other important group that emerged probably about 2007 was a group called Hollywood Forward. And that was this wonderful collaboration of the business community, the faith community, law enforcement, the mayor's office, the council member's office, and they all gathered in a partnership, and they made a pledge that we're going to eliminate chronic homelessness by 2016, I believe it was. And so that's what they worked on. And the beauty of this was that there was never any talk about money. There was never any fighting or quibbling about who's going to be taking the lead, but there was this beautiful, harmonious partnership, and they have really got a lot done. They've worked on a homeless registry. They've gotten some of the most vulnerable homeless into housing, permanent supportive housing, and so they continue to work on their goal and toward their goal of eliminating chronic homelessness. So I think that those two areas where we're dealing with the health needs as well as the comprehensive needs of homeless, those are two excellent programs in Hollywood. After leaving Hollywood Presbyterian Church, I went to West Los Angeles and worked at the Veterans Administration. And there I was a program manager for senior veterans. And these were homeless veterans. I had 24 seniors total. And our goal was to move them into a program of self-sufficiency. That means financial self-sufficiency, identify suitable housing, pursue educational goals, pursue career goals. So it's the complete package. And then of course we were accountable to the VA, because actually we're doing this through another agency. Another agency had a contract with VA. And so we're accountable to that, and we placed a lot of veterans into permanent supportive housing, and that was just, for me, one of the, really one of the most gratifying experiences that I've had. And after I left the VA, I began consulting with Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, and also the California Institute for Mental Health, and finally the Pacific Clinics. And all of these were interested in programs. For instance, Pacific Clinics had a program where they wanted to develop a curriculum for training veterans to become mental health workers. And when veterans return, they need employment. And so this was a beautiful entry step for people who wanted to complete that particular program. Then with the county Department of Mental Health and with the California Institute for Mental Health, what we did there was I developed some resource materials for wellness centers, and in this case it was a spirituality group resource, because there's some interest in allowing members of wellness centers to incorporate spirituality into their care plans. So that's what I've been doing, and that work continues, and I continue to pursue contracts to develop resources and train people, facilitators, and that type of thing. I've always wanted to help people, but help them in a way that allows them to pursue their hopes and dreams. It's not about my hopes and dreams for them, but it's about their hopes and dreams. And sometimes people face unusual challenges, but if we can help people overcome some of those challenges and obstacles, we can help them find a really creative, productive, maybe happy place, in our society. And so currently, my main emphasis is on the resources that I mentioned, the spiritual care resources that LA County wants to use, and other California counties are interested in this. So the idea would be that this type of thing is adopted here in Los Angeles County, and if it works well and if we get some good results, then other California counties might also want to use it. And so right now that's my immediate goal, is to work on that in 2015 and see where that goes. And after that, I'm open to doing things in the area of veterans work or mental health or spiritual care or any other good opportunity that comes my way. There was a time when I was very bold, and I thought I should probably get dressed like, and act like I'm homeless and go down to the missions and see if I can get in, because I wanted to see what that experience was like. And so I never did that, but it did occur to me to maybe try that, because I wanted to see what is it that a homeless person goes through when they're trying to get help. However, I've had some very significant, well, without getting too personal, I've had some significant illnesses that, one that pretty much took me to death's door, and I'm just thankful to the Lord that I'm here today. And when you experience something like that, you're grateful for every day that you have. You're grateful for every person you get to meet or work with. And you see the world in a whole different way, and it just really reinforces your desire to help people when you see people that are sick, when you see people who are struggling financially or with housing. I remember, I want to mention one specific thing. I remember one day it was raining, it was winter time here, so it was the rainy season here in Los Angeles, and I went to get some gas for my car at the Arco station at Gower and Franklin, and there was a young man sitting there, and he was soaked, and he looked really tired and he looked really bad. And so as I was getting gas, I asked him, "Are you okay?" He said no. And so I put my hand on his forehead, and he had a raging fever. And I said, "Well, if you want, I'll take you to the hospital. I'll take you to the emergency room right now if you want, because I think you probably need attention." And he said, okay. I actually almost literally had to lift him into the car. And I took him to the Hollywood Presbyterian Hospital emergency room, and it turned out he had pneumonia. And, you know, if he hadn't, I mean, you could say it's fortuitous, but, you know, somebody had to, you know, observe and step up and just say, can I help you? And the result was that he got better. And then a few months later, he came back to see me at Hollywood Presbyterian Church. And so I would keep track of him from time to time to see what he was doing. So that's the reward. You know, there is a reward of working with the homeless. There is a reward of trying to understand the predicament that they're in. And there's a tremendous reward when they say, thank you for being here. I think one goal, obviously, is to continue to work on homelessness, but specifically on chronic homelessness, and use the solutions that we've already found, that is housing first, put them into housing right away. And then give them the kind of housing, what we call permanent supportive housing, that provides the support that they need to maintain the housing and to begin to pursue those goals that I talked about. I think that when we talk about homelessness, we have to be a little bit specific, because I would say there's different categories of homelessness, and so when people talk about homelessness in general, I think it's important to remember that most of the effort right now that's ongoing to bring solutions to the problem of homelessness is specifically to work with what we call the chronically homeless individuals or chronically homeless families. And the chronically homeless, those are people who've been homeless, say, for long periods of time, over a 2-year period, or maybe 2 or more years. Generally, you find that their resources are completely depleted. They might have a lot of health concerns, and they really have become very disconnected from the care system. And as a result, they end up in places where we don't want them to end up, and that would be places like emergency rooms, being treated by paramedics, where you can get a quick fixer-upper, or even in jails. And this is really not the place for people that are homeless. So I think that we need to identify those other maybe sectors of homelessness in general, and we have to find very specific solutions to that. If I could say anything about homelessness, I think the first thing I would say is I really don't care for labels, because labels have stigma, and they add stigma to a person. So when we say homeless, it adds a negative social stigma on the one hand. On the other hand, I do understand, for reasons of trying to categorize and develop programs, we have to use sometimes specific words. But having said that, I think that whenever we see a homeless person, I think that it's important to look at that person and understand that that man, that woman, that child who's experiencing homelessness was created in God's image. And it's incumbent upon me to treat that person with dignity, respect, and integrity. And it's not just shuffling people through a system. It's not just take a number, like at the deli counter. We need to provide compassionate, effective, personalized care that takes into account the whole person, the needs of the whole person, but also that dignity component is so important. And I think it's not something that you speak. To treat somebody with dignity, respect, and integrity means that my whole attitude, it's an expression of my attitude. It's not necessarily an expression of the words I use, although the words can express that, but it's more my attitude. And one of the things I noticed was that when we work with homeless, they're so quick to understand what my motivations are, what another person's motivations are. They know exactly why I'm there. Am I there for myself? And I'm there to get, some kind of credit, become some kind of celebrity, or am I really there for them? And they're very good judge of character, actually. We have to take culture into account, because we have a very diverse city in Los Angeles, and so we really need to deal with people in cross-cultural ways, because or Latino homeless person, we might have to interact with them in a certain way, as opposed to an African American homeless individual, Asian, a Native American. So, we need to adapt a system or find a way that's attractive to them, where we can kind of speak their language and understand their specialized needs. And so I think those are some of the goals for homelessness, and let's remember that the homeless are our brothers and sisters. They are our own flesh and blood, and that we need to treat them with dignity, respect, and integrity.
I'm Mike Miller, and I produced and directed this film. I'm originally from upstate New York, a town called Penn Yan. That's two separate words. First word, Penn, named after the state of Pennsylvania. Second word, Yan, named after the Yankee of New York. And Penn Yan actually became well known a few years back through a citizen who I knew for a good number of years, named Millie Bloomquist, who a few years back received the Presidential Citizen Award from President Obama for her years of advocacy with helping the needy.
It's hard to imagine that poverty exists in an area of such agricultural bounty. Yet Yates County is one of the poorest in all of New York State. Hundreds of kids who live in this spectacular Finger Lakes community don't have enough food to eat. Over 50% of the students in Penn Yan and Dundee elementary schools are given free or reduced price breakfast and lunches at school, and often there isn't enough food in their kitchen cupboards over the weekend. To address that need, Millie's Pantry Weekend Backpack Program was created. It was inspired and supported by Millie Bloomquist, a tireless volunteer who has devoted her life to helping those less fortunate.
Well, we started, Christmas Food to the Needy was started by a former first grade teacher and another woman because they knew that the elderly, their money ran out at the end of the month. As they said, the money ran out, the food ran out before the month ran out. So they wanted to provide a little help for them. So that it was started to help the elderly. And it grew, and then we had food around most of the month, and so when somebody called me and said they didn't have any food, we'd just come down here and get them. So then we started giving out food at the end of the month. They gave it the last fourth Friday of every month to anybody who came in who wanted it. I knew there was a lot of poverty around because I was a public health nurse first, and then I was a school nurse teacher. And my job as a school nurse teacher, I was hired under the federal program put out by Lyndon Johnson to help the poor. And I was to work with the families with children to make sure those children got all the advantages that were coming to them. And the schools were cooperative. And we started a breakfast program in 1966 because the children, some of the children were coming from Dundee and beyond Dundee, and they'd be on the bus from 7 o'clock in the morning, and just class didn't even start till 9, and they were hungry. So we started a breakfast program. And now we're doing a backpack program. We send home food every week. That was my daughter's idea. The children needed food on the weekends, and she started the backpack program. We send food home to 600 children, approximately, every week. And it's enough to carry them over the weekend so they're not hungry. They used to come in. Actually, the cooks in the church and the school kitchens found out that they have a breakfast program, which we started at the school, and they would be getting breakfast ready, and the children would be coming in and grabbing the food and stuffing it in their mouth. And they thought, what's going on? And they figured they hadn't gotten much food over the weekend. So they started putting cereal bars in those children's backpacks when they went home. And so then we took it over, and now we send food home every week with 600 children so they're not hungry over the weekend.
Hi, I'm Deanna Nage, and I'm a social worker at Penn Yan Elementary, and I'm also the one that distributes about 215 backpack bags every week to a lot of our little people. And we have about a 60% poverty rate here in Penn Yan. The reason we know this is because we have free and reduced lunches, and that is about the statistic we have coming in. So there's a lot of little bodies that are trying to learn and grow, need a little help. And don't worry too much about our children during the week, because they get, again, the free and reduced meals all day long, and we're able to subsidize those things a little bit as well with extra food. But I think on the weekends, I have my greatest concern about them. And Millie's Pantry and the people that volunteer to provide these bags have done a wonderful thing. They give the most interesting little items of food that are both healthy and nourishing, and the kids can really get these things for themselves. There's peanut butter to make peanut butter sandwiches, there's tuna for tuna sandwiches, little cans of fruit, and it's just exactly what they need to get them through the weekend. So we don't know what we'd do without this program, and it's just been really encouraging to know there's a community out there and people that care this much about our little people and are making sure that their needs are taken care of. So thank you, Millie's Pantry.
My name is Brooke. I work here at Penn Yan Elementary. I have two kids, Marshall and Brittany, and they are enrolled in the backpack program. They do like it. They find they like the food that they get into it. They just can't wait on Fridays, you know, to open it. It does save me money on groceries.
We live in an area where there's quite a bit of poverty. So we started a food to help over the weekend. At the end of the month, the women who started the program were older women, and they were on pensions and so on. And they decided that the food and money ran out before the month did. So they started a program for the last weekend in the month to give food to, they started out giving it to the older people, but then they found out that the families also needed food. And they were having trouble finding a place to have it, and I helped them out and eventually took over the program. We've been doing it for about 35, 40 years.
For decades, she has personified the phrase above and beyond. At her 90th birthday party, one speaker said that Penn Yan has its own special system for handling emergencies. If you're out of food, call Millie. If your heat has gone out, call Millie. If you can't pay your electricity bill, call Millie. If you need a winter coat, call Millie.
You do it because you want to help people. The basic need is there. It's a shame that in the country this big, there are people who go without food. So we try to eliminate that. Nobody in Yates County should go without food because it's available. And they don't have to do anything to get it. They don't have to prove that they're sick or that they're without food. They just come, say they need it, and we give it to them. And they don't have to do anything to get it.
I originally came to Los Angeles in 1994 at the age of 19. And when I first came to LA, I was homeless temporarily. And I stayed in shelters and also received help from a trailer's aid in downtown Los Angeles, which also provided housing for me temporarily on a temporary basis, along with food. and they put me up at the hotel called the Huntington Hotel in downtown LA. And from there, I've had quite a living experience over the years, living in a lot of different places over the years. But there were times when I actually, over the years, where I actually was for brief periods of time homeless. And during those times, I stayed at different shelters. Sometimes I slept on the street, which of course was, like many other homeless, wasn't easy. And on a day-to-day basis, during those times I was homeless, I was spending a lot of the time, from one day to the next, making sure I had food to eat. I would go to places for free meals like a lot of other people, and other things that I would do during the day. I would pretty much go to libraries or whatever to keep myself occupied, and of course much of the reason for being homeless was because of the fact that the cost of living going up like it was at the time can make things complicated, and so there were times I did become temporarily homeless because of the cost of living. In addition to my personal experience with homelessness, I also advocated formally as an activist, working with different community groups here in Los Angeles, dealing with issues like homelessness. One day there was a group of people, about back in 2000 or so, the year 2000, there were a few people who came to my church that I've been a part of for a good 16 years now, I could say. The people came from actually like two different groups, the LA CAN and Collision to End Hunger and Homelessness. They came out to meet with myself and a group of other people through a meal program through the First Presbyterian Church. They came out to do a meeting one day, and upon taking part in that meeting, it was something that I really never thought that I would be involved in, but I decided out of curiosity to take part in the meeting, and a lot of important things came out of the meeting, and I was encouraged somehow to believe that people can make a difference, and so I decided to become more active, more involved, and one thing led to another, and I became more involved with groups like the LA CAN and the Collision to End Hunger and Homelessness, and also another community organization called the Hollywood CAN, Hollywood Community Action Network, was formed, which I became a part of as well. And I also worked with other groups over the years as well, including the Hollywood Forward. And we advocated in a lot of different ways through different community meetings with different people, and including police, CPAB meetings and City Hall meetings with different city council people, and we spoke at City Hall and a variety of other things. I took part in other different events, including Hunger Action Day in Sacramento. I took part also in other activities, including surveying the homeless to find out more about their situations and how they could be helped and such. And it was my experience from, personal and professionally that encouraged me, I guess, to want to do this documentary. Since this is actually my first film project, and this is actually what brought me to LA in the past tense, back in '94, and in the last few years I decided to pretty much to retire from my community work to pursue my original goal, which brought me to LA. As far as my entertainment career, I decided to form my own production company, which I decided to call Family Empire Entertainment. And like a lot of other people who first started out, I started out with a very, very small budget and little resources to work with, and so like a lot of people, I decided to start off with something that would be, rather reasonable and easy and convenient, and so I decided to start off with a documentary. And with my experience personally and professionally with the issue of homelessness, I thought this would be the first place to start. I thought it would be a very important thing for me to start with, because I thought homelessness is, to me, it's a very important issue. As someone who's been homeless, again, in the past, I know what it's like for a lot of the people who are in that situation. I look around me where I am now, and there are a lot of people, even here, who are camped out in that situation, as well as all over the city, and people shouldn't be in that situation. Whether it's the cost of living, fixed incomes, or loss of jobs, I feel that people vote on election day for change. And I feel that there are a lot of good people out there, a lot of politicians especially, who care and are trying, but need to be really, really doing a better job at somehow securing the problem. Not only do we need affordable housing, more affordable housing to get the homeless off the street, but I feel we also need to do something about the source that's causing the problem. We need to do something to make people aware that, it's in order to solve the problem with homelessness, like any other issue, we need to be on the right course to do it. And that also includes getting to the root of the problem, stabilizing the problem, preventing people from continuing to become homeless. And in order to do that, we need to understand the problem a whole lot better than what people, may already feel that they understand. There are parts about it that people see the problem every day and they know how serious it is. But there are parts about it that I feel at times that people overlook that we all need to be aware of in order to solve the problem. And that's why I decided to do this film, to make people aware of the problem and everything that needs to be done. We need to focus more, again, totally for the solution as far as building more affordable housing. I'm also, on the other hand, well aware of the fact that we also need to stabilize the problem, whether it's mental issues that they may have, or problems with personal issues, drugs, or whatever, or especially the cost of living and such, which continues to occur. That we need to address those issues and do something and get to the source of to get to the root of the problem, to solve the problem. And I'm hoping again that those who watch this film will be able to understand that we all need to be united together in order to solve the problem with homelessness. We all need to realize that it's a very serious and critical issue, and not only does it affect our city of Los Angeles, but it affects the whole country. And it's something that we really, really need to address, not only address more than we have, but it's something we really need to be focusing on a lot more serious than what we have been. And I'm hoping that somehow, if something does come out of this film, that will be the most important thing that will come out of it. I would like to see the problem with homelessness solved, but it's and within a certain time. But the way things have been, there are a lot of people who become afraid every single day that they're not seeing the problem go away anytime soon. I'm very concerned about the issue, and I believe that we can do better and should do better, and for our democracy and for our country. And we owe it to not only to the homeless, but also others who are in danger of becoming homeless every day, and also to our country, to our city and our country, to do something to actually resolve this issue. And I believe we can solve the issue, but only if we're all made aware, much more aware of the problem than we are now, and we all work together and do what needs to be done to solve the issue. I want to thank you very much for watching our film, and hope that you will stay involved and committed. Thank you.